So during the summertime, I work as a caddy at Beverly Country Club, and what separates a good caddy from a great caddy is their conversational skills. However, that's just what gets your foot in the door. Your ability to follow up and build a network is the most important part. So what I do after every round is I connect and follow up with those people on LinkedIn. This gives me an opportunity to both expand my network and also maintain and build new relationships. I'm also working with some of the most influential people in the Chicagoland area. So this gives me an opportunity to sell myself to them and eventually, potentially, get future job internships at some of these people's companies. So lastly, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a rundown on how the rest of the night's going to go. So talking after me will be Mr. LoMaglio, who I'll talk about more in a minute. And then after his talk will be a presentation on first impressions in the art of small talk. That will be given by me along with 3 other students who have came through the ABC program as well. So now I'd like to introduce Mr. LoMaglio. And Nick graduated from St. Rita in 2004, and then he came back in 2013 and founded the Advice Beyond the Classroom program. He's been working with us students in the classroom ever since. I've been working with Nick since freshman year on this training program, and since then it has expanded to 2 other schools, including Mother Macaulay and Carmel Catholic. And without Nick's devout dedication to the program, none of this expansion would be possible. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. LoMaglio on stage.
I want everybody to understand how difficult that was that you just did. You got up here, you presented in front of a room of close to 150 people. Did you think you'd be doing that your freshman year?
No chance.
No. Can we give Dylan a round of applause? Dude, that was awesome. Proud of you, man. That was awesome. I felt like, I know the Cooneys are here, but I felt like a proud father, Dylan. That was fantastic. So thank you all for coming. A lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces too. And I appreciate everybody coming out on arguably the coldest night of the year in the middle of a global pandemic. So you guys are diehard. I appreciate it. What we're hoping to accomplish tonight is basically try and condense what we're learning in ABC throughout the year, because we've had a lot of interest from neighbors, friends, family, where they want to come out and kind of see what we're doing. And so this is our first public event ever where it's open to anybody, and we really appreciate you all coming and joining us on our inaugural night. So when we started this program in 2012, I'll never forget it. I walked in and I asked the students kind of, what do you want to talk about? And they go, well, tell us about what you do. We want to learn how to make money. And because I work with the markets, and I'm like, okay, well, here's how the stock market works, and this is what you do. But it wasn't interesting. But then they asked, well, tell me how you got to where you are. And I'm like, well, that's interesting, because that's networking. And then that's getting an internship. And that's finding mentors. And most importantly, it's about building a group of people that love and care about you, and you celebrate in each other's success. That's basically what a network is. And I hear it all the time, especially among young people. We want to make money. We want to get rich. And, you know, money is associated. You're lucky if you have money. If you have money, you've got privilege. Now, money does provide optionality, meaning it gives you options. It gives you flexibility. But I would argue money is not the most important thing that you want in life. I'd argue a network is more important. Because when you look at money and a network next to each other, let's think about this. Money comes and goes. You make money, you spend money. You win money, you lose money. You invest money, it goes up, it goes down. A job pays you money, the job goes away. A group of people, a true group of people, I'm talking about true network, and I'm not talking 100,000 followers on LinkedIn or 50,000 followers on Instagram. That's not a true network. I'm talking one person is all you need in your network that loves and supports, you trust. That is more powerful than money. Money can take you down a very dark path. Money can derail you. Money doesn't have your best intentions. Because remember, money comes and goes. It doesn't care about you. But a network, when constructed properly, is the bumpers on a bowling alley. When you start to deviate a little to the left, that bumper brings you back. When you start going to the right, it brings you back. That network is there, and it has your best interest in mind. Now, most importantly, I'm sure we've all thought about it, money is not going to remember you when you're gone. Money's moved on. Money's already gone. Your network, the people that you surround yourself with, the people that you help. Now, you got to understand, for a good network to work, it's give and take. All right? So you are giving a piece of yourself by helping other people in your network. They will remember you. So when you start to think money's the most important thing, I disagree, because a network is sustainable forever. And if you put your network together properly, money is a byproduct of it. If you have a strong network where you're working and you're collaborating and you're sharing ideas and information and relationships, money will follow. If you build a network off of having money, the people that are in that network are going to be there for your money. And guess what? They're going to come and go just like that money does. So when I talk to my students, I go, forget money. It's too early to think about it. Now, money, again, I go back. Money is important. It provides flexibility and optionality. But money is not the first thing you need to start building early on in your life. And that's what we want to talk about. Because how do we build a network? Tonight, we're talking about first impressions. And that's what our program is. We're teaching students how to advance and network in a progressive manner. We aren't doing the basics of investing and tax mitigation in the first class. That's actually class 11. That's the second to last class we do. We're doing first impressions. But I'll tell you, after these last 2 years, there's something more important that actually comes before first impressions, which is what everybody thinks is the most important start to building a network. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about it, because I know it's a topic that's been coming up for a lot of people coming out of this pandemic, and that is mental health. Okay? Mental health. Understanding your mental health, understanding why you feel that way is vital. And I'll tell you right now, for me, I deal with it. So I'm up here telling you, especially the students, if you feel like you're dealing with struggles mentally, understand you're not alone. Because that's the first step in helping identify what the underlying problem is. You are not alone. My mother taught me early on, and I think it's because we're an Italian family, you got to talk about it. The rule number one to trying to get your head right is talk to someone. Because if you don't talk to somebody about it, it's just going to sit internal with you. The second rule is you figure out how to change the channel. And I'm going to explain this in a little bit about how I've actually implemented this. But you got to change the channel. You got to reframe whatever you're thinking. And then the third and final step is reflect and develop self-awareness. Understand where you are with everything. Okay? So if we look here, and I am going to screw this up, this is an iceberg. I know it's in like black and white and kind of washed out, but it's an iceberg. A fun fact about icebergs is 90% of the iceberg sits submerged, out of sight, underwater. Only 10% of that massive ice rock is above the surface and can be seen. Again, I'm using this as my own therapy. I am talking to you about my mental health. I have voices. There are voices all around. And there's two types of voices that I deal with. The first is the internal voices, and then the second is the external voices. And guess what makes up a majority of what I'm hearing? All right here. All internal. And now when you get stuck in these internal voices, and if you've heard it before, I'm not good enough, I'm going to fail, I'm not ready for this, it's not going to be right, I'm not prepared. Do you know what the 5 most derailing words that I think have ruined more great ideas than anything else? What will other people think? What will other people think? I thought about that as I was literally walking on stage. What are people going to think about this? That's a really loud internal voice. And again, for all the young people in here, you're not alone. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because it's especially for the young people in here, you have been robbed of 2 years of socialization. From ages 13 to 24, I would argue that is the most important age range to develop how to interact. And it's not how to be the most popular cool kid, it's how do I act in a group? What's socially acceptable? How do I make somebody else like me, or how do I like them? How do I want to be treated? How should I treat other people? The way you learn that is through interacting, and you've been robbed. And you've been socially stunted as a result of it. And it's not just you, it's an entire generation that's been socially stunted. So if we can figure out how to master some of these skills, you young people that are in the audience, your peers aren't doing this right now. You're going to be ahead of the game because you're going to figure out how to bring the pieces together. Now, the external voices, don't get me started. That's the media. It's friends, it's family. It's the media. COVID-19, recession, stock market crash, isolation, racism, violence, desperation, plane crash. You know what's funny about the media is they don't ever report when planes land safely. 99.999% of the time, the planes land safely. And the reason they don't report on that is because it doesn't grab attention. That is not the revenue model of mainstream media. They need to grab our attention. And I do truly think it's an evolutionary kind of thing that we have buried inside of us. We need to know where the threats and the danger is because we've evolved to this point. And so I understand why humans are drawn to the negativity because it's in our nature to know what's going on. But those external voices, man, they get loud. And you'll find out those external voices seep into our internal space, and then we can't get rid of them. So what does this all mean for first impressions? Well, if you talk to a lot of the students here, there isn't a formal curriculum for this class. We're not like trying to sell a book. We don't have like a 12-chapter course on how to do this. Literally, we get together once a month, and I'm like, hey guys, this happened to me last week. Let me tell you about it. I'm literally just trying to disseminate and share my life experiences with the students and figure it out. This iceberg is very much embedded in me when I was 13, 14, all the way up to 25, and it still is. The voices haven't gone away. The one thing I've gotten a little better at is trying to control the voices, right? Talk to somebody, reframe it, reflect. So I started at the firm I'm currently with. I was 18, and I started in the mailroom, and the internal voices were loud. I was one of like 7 interns, and I was the only one in the mailroom. Everybody else was out on the floor. They were working with other advisory teams. They were working, doing more important stuff. I was in the mailroom. And God, looking back on it, God bless I was, because it was a learning experience. And my voices were loud, as always. You're not smart enough. You shouldn't be here. What are you doing here? It was in there. So I fought through it. And then I graduated in 2008. And about 2 to 3 weeks in, I sat down and I had kind of an informal review. I was super eager. I wanted to learn, like, what do I got to do to make it? You know, again, these internal voices were nagging at me, but I'm like, nah, I'm going to push. So I sit down with this guy. He wasn't like a big man. He was just like kind of almost like a peer, but he had been there longer, which was my first mistake, probably listening to him. But I sit down and I talk to him. And I got my pen and paper ready. I'm ready to take notes. I'm ready to learn about it. And he goes, all right, Nick, I'm going to level with you. And I go, oh, yeah, what? He goes, you come across as kind of aggressive. And I'm like, what? Like aggressive question mark. I'm like, okay, tell me more. I'm like, what does that mean? Like I come across as kind of aggressive. I'm like, okay. And I kid you not, this is a true story. He goes, and also, you're a little rough around the edges. You can tell you're from the South Side. Is right. He said that to me. I'm like, what? No, I didn't do that. But I was like, what are you talking about? I wasn't even mad. I wasn't even mad because I didn't even know what it meant. I had to Google rough around the edges. I had no idea what he was even talking about. And then he's talking about where I grew up. I'm like, what is this? So you want to talk about an external voice seeping in? I was deep underwater. I don't even think I had 10% remaining. I think everything was internal. I didn't even hear what was going on in the world. So I'm like, well, what do I do? And this is before I started to kind of figure out, all right, how do you deal with these internal voices? So I tried to self-correct. I tried to fix it myself inside my own head. And I go, okay, all right, well, I'm aggressive. All right, I'll stop going up to people in the water cooler and introducing myself, and I'll stop, kind of like sitting in the front row at all the big, investment meetings. I'll just sit in the back, and I won't approach people, and maybe I won't come across as aggressive. I'm like, okay, that works. And then I was like, well, God, like, how do I not be so rough around the edges and be from the South Side, where I'm from? So I'm like, well, my buddies in college, they used to call me Chicago because I had a really strong Chicago accent. It's probably the way I talk. So I started to talk very deliberate, very slow, no accent. So I'm like, I got to change something. I'm like, I got to talk to somebody. I'm like, I got to do it. And this is what my mother always taught me growing up. You got to talk to somebody. So first mentor I go to, his name is Bernie Del Giorno. Some of you have met Bernie. I met Bernie about 10 years ago. So when I first met Bernie at the firm, we did not know each other, and he's been in the business for a very long time. He's 90 years old. He was born in 1931 in the middle of the Great Depression. He's seen like 8 wars and 20 presidents. The guy's been around the block. And he responds to everything in quotes. And so I go, Bernie, I didn't tell him about the conversation that I had. I go, Bernie, what do you do if, somebody is like too aggressive? And he looks at me, and this is how Bernie responds. He goes, well, aggressive? He goes, well, it's a lot easier to pull the reins on a lion uphill than it is to push a donkey. And I'm like, it is easier to do that. I'm not a donkey. And so what I did is I reframed it. So I talked to somebody. He told me it was not better, but he said it's easier to mentor and develop somebody that has the go for it. And I'm like, I'm not aggressive. I have energy. I'm high energy. All right, Bernie, thank you. All right, I feel better. But again, rough around the edges. From the South Side, I didn't know how to deal with that. So I called one of the guys that I respected that worked downtown. And I wish he could be here tonight. And by the way, Bernie's not here tonight. I wish Bernie could be here, and I wish this gentleman could be here too. A man named Tom Fahey. And if any of you are from the CK neighborhood or from Beverly, Tom Fahey is one of my first mentors. And I go out to lunch with Tom. And I go, Tom. And I didn't, again, tell him anything. I go, Tom, what if somebody didn't want to do business with you or didn't like you because you were from the South Side? I'll never forget, and Tom probably doesn't even remember this. He was eating his soup. He goes, Nick, I wouldn't do business with anybody that thought that way. And I was like, oh, that's fantastic. It made me feel so good. I'm like, yeah, I don't have to do with business with people that think that way. Tom made me feel better. So then when I think, oh, I'm rough around the edges and maybe, I'm from the south side, then I reframed it. And I'm like, you know what? All these other guys I am in this program with, I'm gritty. I'm gritty. I have gritty energy. I reframe that thing in my head. Now, whether that's right or wrong, whether people believe it or not, what matters is up here, how you feel. How is that going to impact you? So I changed the channel, and I reflected. And I'll tell you, it was about 2 years to the day where I started ABC. And I went back to St. Rita, my alma mater. That's where I started. I literally was standing on like a milk crate, just like talking, and whoever showed up, showed up. I started talking about it. And I realized that people are like, why did you start it? And looking back on it, I started it because I was angry. I was mad. Because I was mad that one person thought that. I embedded in my head that that's how everybody thought about the South Side. And it made me angry. And I vowed to myself, I am going to go back and I am going to bring as many kids as I possibly can into this situation that I just barely got through and figured out. Because what you got to realize, what we're ultimately, to sum ABC up, there is this door. All right, so imagine this door right here. The first 3 years of my career as an intern, I walked right by this door. No idea this door even existed. I'd walk by it. And then I started to kind of like figure out, I'm like, what is this thing? And then I started looking into it. I'm like, what's in the door? And I saw there was a lot of people in there shaking hands, doing different stuff. And then the door cracked open and I slid my foot in. And I went in. And I wanted to figure out what was going on in there. And I call this door, it's the door to the room of opportunity, which is life. And it doesn't just have to be business, but it's the room of opportunity where you can build and develop and network and collaborate with people. So I slide in and I go into this room. And guess what I found out works in that room with all these different people, all different backgrounds, nationalities, professions. Gritty energy works. Gritty energy helps in that room. And I kind of figured out how to work around that room. But the thing that I did not do is I did not sit in the middle of that room and just reap all the benefit. And this is what I drive home to our ABC students. I figured out, okay, this room works. I walked right back to that door that I came in, and I whipped it off the hinges, and I pushed it open. And now I'm holding this door open. And there were kids that were lined up out here. I go, okay, listen, you're going in this room, all right? Here's how you're going to operate. First thing, first impressions. Here's how you shake hands. Here's how you're going to conversation pivot in your small talk. Then after the small talk, you're going to get their business card. Then you're going to send a handwritten thank you follow-up. You're going to write them an email follow-up on top of that. And then you're going to introduce that person to somebody else you meet. Go. 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 We are trying to shove as many kids into that room of opportunity. But here is the price of admission. And this is what I tell every kid that comes through this. Once you get into that middle of the room and you figure out how to navigate it, don't you dare just sit in that room. You go find a closed door, you open it up the same way I did, and you get all the kids that are standing outside that door in with us. That's the price of admission. You pay it forward. You pay it forward. And by the way, when you get in that room, there's some people wearing an ABC logo. Go find them. Those are Sherpas. There's professionals, mentors that help out our network. Go find the people with the ABC logo and network with them. That's what we're trying to accomplish. And what I'm really excited about tonight is that we have 4 students that are in what I'll call the 5th inning of the Advice Beyond the Classroom process. They've already made it through the high school phase, and now they're working into the college phase. Because what our students need to realize is it doesn't end when you leave class. This isn't calculus class, okay? It doesn't end when you graduate high school. If you cut it out at high school and you don't really participate in the network beyond that, you've literally wasted 4 years. Because what those 4 years of ABC training do is it gets you prepped for college to get into a good internship, which ultimately leads to a full-time offer, which ultimately builds on career success down the road. You got to keep engaged. And so I'd like to bring out Nick Adent, Zuzu Cranley, Dylan Cooney, and Kyle James. Please help me give them a round of applause. So I would love for you guys, in the spirit of ABC, oh, we're getting some cross there, to come out and give just a quick who you are, where you been, where you going.
Hi, my name is Zuzu Cranley. I am from Beverly. I went to Christ the King Grammar School and attended Macaulay High School. I was a part of the ABC program my sophomore through senior year and got to be president my senior year. I now attend Spring Hill College in Mobile, Alabama, and I am a business major. I'm really excited to be back here helping out with ABC just to give back a little bit of all the knowledge that they gave me.
Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Kyle James. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I went to Southern Elementary School, so I'm very familiar with the Beverly area. I had the honor of going to and graduating from St. Rita High School, where I was president of the ABC program. Currently, I am a freshman at the University of Chicago, where I'm majoring in economics with a specialization in business. And in the future, with that degree, I plan on going into investment banking at a bulge bracket firm.
Hi everyone, my name's Nick Adent. Like many of you, I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. I grew up in Mount Greenwood, where I went to Mount Greenwood Elementary School and part of St. Christina Parish. After my time at Mount Greenwood, I made the great decision to go to St. Rita, and during my time there, got involved in as many clubs and activities as I could, one of them being the Advice Beyond the Classroom program, which ended up being one of the best choices I made. I saw all the opportunities that the ABC program had to offer and really dove headfirst into everything that it had to offer, and I was lucky enough to become a vice president my junior year and president my senior year. Currently, I'm a second-year student athlete at the University of Chicago, majoring in business as well, or economics with a specialization in business as well. Through all the tools and resources that I gained through the Advice Beyond the Classroom program, it's prepared me for success not only at the University of Chicago, but in recruiting for those future job opportunities in investment banking. So, as Nick was talking about, and what you all know we're presenting on today, is first impressions. So why are first impressions so important? Well, your first impression with someone will be the foundation for the rest of your interactions with that person to come. So now I'll be going through the first part of first impression. This is your appearance. So the numbers vary, but research has shown first impression can be formed within 7 seconds. So what is that person judging you off in that only 7 seconds? You're not even shaking their hands yet. It's on your appearance. So there's 3 main things in appearance that they're judging you on. First, how you're dressed. You have to be dressed appropriately for whatever event you're going to. Second, you have to be well groomed, whether that's making sure your hair looks good, cleanly shaven, or your beard's trimmed if you do have a beard. And third, it's your posture. I think this is something that a lot of people forget about when they're thinking about their appearance, but posture is so crucial. Research has shown that a good posture not only shows good health, but also confidence when going into a conversation or an event. So having that good posture will be critical in forming that good first impression. So if you have these 3 things as a foundation for your appearance, you have a chance of making that solid first impression with someone. And now I'm going to bring out Kyle James to talk about the next step of a first impression.
I want to give you all a little insight into one of the most pivotal parts of an interaction, the handshake. The handshake serves as the kickoff or the beginning of most interactions. That being said, we want to make sure that it's done properly. In an ideal handshake, you want to be 1 or 2 steps away from someone before extending your hand. Also, it's important that you have your right elbow tucked at your side. Now, when you do extend your hand, you want to have it at a 45-degree angle, with your palm facing upward toward the sky. This provides what we call a nice landing strip for your counterpart. Now, while it's important that your handshake is technically and fundamentally sound, 45 degrees, elbow tucked, landing strip, etc., the key to a great handshake is finding a sense of positive moderation. Kyle, what's positive moderation? Good question. This means that your handshake shouldn't be too limp, like a fish, but also that it shouldn't be too aggressive, like a gorilla. It's about balance. A moderately firm handshake is always the way to go. So, now that we've explained how to do a handshake properly, we'll have Mr. LoMaglio come up and commentate on some common handshake debacles that he sees.
All right. Oh man, this is my favorite. This was born in COVID. We call this the fish shake.
What's up, Kyle?
How you doing?
All right.
I don't know what to. All right.
All right. I'll see you.
So this has happened a few times where you don't know whether to give a fist bump or a shake. The best advice we can give is stand firm with wherever you are. And I don't mean like don't back down because you want to shake. What happens is when the other party realizes you're going in, they immediately change at the same time you do. So just stick with the handshake for like 3 or 4 seconds and give them time to change over instead of doing it simultaneously. Now, if they don't change because they want a fist bump, and after about 4 seconds it's already pretty awkward as it is, just go ahead and give a fist bump. All right, we've got the lean in.
Hey, Zuzu, how are you?
Good. How are you, Dylan?
Pretty good.
So we call that the lean in. And this happens, and I see the guys do it more than anybody, especially when you're talking. Do not put the weight on your front foot because it looks like you're about to do 2 things, either headbutt them or kiss them. And both of those are not socially acceptable first impression greetings. So keep the weight on your back foot so you don't come in too hot on the initial shake. Call this the draw.
Hey, Kyle, how are you?
Put it there, partner.
All right, someone's been watching some old Western films. I'll see you.
So wait, real quick, guys. Let's do this normal. So if you do greet somebody like that, you'll be memorable. Maya Angelou. She won't remember what you did, but remember how it made you feel. But the thing is you do not want to have your feet square as you're about to come in and give a handshake. So let's show them what happens. We open with our right foot, go toe to toe, all right? And then as you shake and greet, you're going to bring the back foot forward. So you're starting in a closed off position so it doesn't look like you're about to get in a gunfight with them. But then what you want to do to show that it's a welcome introduction, bring this foot around and open up. Because now you're showing you're open to the discussion, but do not come in open as it stands. Thank you. Got the hammer.
Hey, Zuzu, how are you?
Good. How are you, Dylan?
Pretty good.
So that's what we call the hammer, and I see this a lot, where maybe the shake isn't too hard, but you do not want to go more than 3 to 4 inches up and down on the shake. When you start going up and down like that, you kind of look like a cartoon, and it makes their arm feel awkward. So keep the hammer to a minimum. We got the pregame.
Hey, Nick, how you
Hi,
doing?
what's up? How are you?
I'm good. What? Go team, I guess.
Nobody knows creative handshakes unless you do it with your buddies. Keep those at a minimum. If you're meeting somebody for the first time, stick with the handshake or the fist bump And then as you get to know people, you can kind of incorporate different styles of shaking hands. But out of the gate, keep it simple. All right, so guys, we got Zuzu and Dylan. Come on out. So let's show what a normal handshake looks like. That was artistic. That was beautiful. The hush fell over the crowd on that one. Good job, guys. So hopefully you can see what not to do as much as it is what you should do. But it is definitely something. It's literally the first thing in your first impression. So practice it. Practice at home when you get a chance.
So now that we moved on from the initial handshake of a first impression, we're moving on to engagement. The key to engagement is making the other party feel interested and making sure to show them that you're interested. A great quote from Maya Angelou that describes the importance of engagement is people won't remember what you said or what you did, but people will remember how you made them feel. So the key is to make sure that the other party feels that you're valuing their time and that you want to learn something from them or just even talk to them. So some key tips for engagement is eye contact. So don't be staring the person down. Make sure to be looking at them, not at your phone or someone else, because that can come off as extremely rude. Next is active listening. So active listening isn't just listening to what the other person has to say, which is important, but you need to talk too. A conversation takes two people. So make sure that you're asking the other person questions, because people love to talk about themselves. So a great way to get the conversation flowing is to ask them. So now that we know what engagement is, we're going to invite Mr. LoMaglio to commentate on some more poor examples of engagement.
This is what we call the ER doctor, and I will admit I am guilty of this sometimes in the house. You can ask my
Zuzu,
wife.
how are you?
Hi, Nick. How's it going?
Good, good. How was your Christmas?
Oh, it was wonderful. How about you? What's your plans for the new year?
No, it was good. How was your New Year?
Good.
What is Nick doing wrong
right.
here?
Yep. All right.
We do not pull out our phones when we are currently engaged with other people. An ER doctor is allowed to do that because they save lives for a living. Everybody else, keep the phone tucked away until the conversation is over. Most important guy in the room.
Hey Kyle, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Hey, did I see you at the Bears game last week?
You know what? I did see you at the I saw you at the Bears game.
What section were you sitting in?
I probably at least 27.
All right.
So this happens a lot, and I see this at networking events when there are a lot of people in the room. I've had it happen to me, and I'm sure I've been guilty of doing it. When you're engaged in a conversation with somebody, do not, if you are going to deviate your eyes because you recognize somebody or it's somebody you want to talk to, look over and come back. The worst thing that can happen is when somebody's sitting there and they're having a conversation with you and they're watching your eyes turn as they're engaging with you. They are no longer the most important person in the room. In order to make a good first impression, everybody you talk to needs to feel like they are the most important person in the room.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Zuzu, how are you? Good?
You go to University of
Yeah.
Chicago, right? That is a great
yeah.
school.
That-
What's your major? Oh, actually, no, wait. Are you
that-
involved in
that-
anything?
Can I
think
talk?
my,
All right, never mind.
Rapid fire.
Good job.
It's great because Zuzu had a lot of questions to ask, but space them out. And we'll do a presentation on conversation pivots and bridges. Pivots and bridges are how you construct a conversation with somebody to control it in a way where you want the topic to end up heading. So take a breath. Don't fire too many questions at once.
So the most important part about small talk is you don't want it to be so much of a monologue, but more of just a conversation. And similarly to what Zuzu said, you want to be an active listener in the conversation. Like we had the quote in the beginning today. People won't remember what you said, but how you made them feel. When you are an active listener, you make the person you're talking to feel special, and that's what you want to do. And then just a couple topics that you could maybe talk about when doing small talk if the conversation's getting a little quiet. You can talk about things like weather, sports, and also hobbies. Those are three pretty easy topics to talk about. Three topics you should definitely avoid talking about include politics, religion, and personal finances. These are three topics that would kill the conversation, and you just want to avoid those altogether.
All right.
Hey Nick, how are you?
I'm good. You don't look so good though. Did you not sleep last night?
Actually I slept great, but
Oh, that's what it is. When do you do?
not pregnant. No.
Focusing on the career, I see. How much you make before taxes nowadays?
I'm not comfortable. I'll talk to you later.
What'd I say?
A lot.
Oh, it's funny. 3 questions you don't ever want to ask. 2 of those, especially to a woman. When are you due? Come on out, guys.
Hey Kyle,
What's going on, boss? How you doing?
Hey, pretty good.
I looked you up on LinkedIn. I saw it, private equity for 10 years. That's crazy, man.
Oh, so you've done some research.
Oh, I've done research. I saw your net worth, bro. $100 million?
Oh, yeah.
You're loaded, man.
Yeah.
Can I get a job or something?
No, I don't think so.
No? You know what else I looked up? Google Maps, your house, bro. 150 acres? Come on.
Oh, so you know where I live now?
Yeah, your kid Jack, Sam, and Pam, they must love that big pool you got. Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was nice talking to you.
Hey, man, I'll see you my email.
All right. All right.
Good job.
We call that the Google detective. It's one thing to do research. It's another thing to tell the counterparty how much you know about them based off of what you saw on the internet. It could come across as kind of creepy. So minimize the information you pick up. If you guys could come on out here, let's give a round of applause.